Percival's mother hid him in the Welsh woods so war would not swallow him. He learned the names of birds, the calm of rivers, and a courtesy born from trees. Touch nothing roughly. One spring, 3 knights rode past like pieces of daybreak fallen into green. Their helms flashed, their horses misted the moss. "Are you angels?" he asked. They laughed and pointed him toward Arthur's hall. He arrived with leather laces and wide eyes. At court, he mistook swagger for honor until an older knight pulled him aside and gave him 3 rules. Keep your word, keep your temper, keep your eyes open. Percival took them like bread for the road and set out to make his name. Following a river into mist, he found a castle rising from water as if stone had learned to float. Inside, a king sat by the hearth, hand pressed to a wound that would not heal. "Be welcome," the Fisher King said, his voice kind and tired. A page set Percival by the fire as night gathered. Then came the procession. First a boy with a lance from whose tip a red drop fell and fell, never emptying. Then a maiden with a silver dish. Then another bearing a grail whose light made torches blush. The hall held its breath as they passed down a corridor and back again, as if the sea itself were moving through stone. Percival felt a question rise the way a trout rises to a fly. "What ails you, Lord? Whom does the Grail serve?" But he had been warned against clumsy curiosity. Do not pry, do not shame your host. He swallowed the words like a stone. The light dwindled, the fire snapped twice, and sleep took him. At dawn, the seat beside him stood empty. No servants clattered pans, no gate creaked. Outside, fields lay gray and thin, as if the earth had forgotten bread. He rode away with the unasked question rubbing his ribs like a blunt knife. Time worked on him. He won fights he did not need and lost ones he did, until loss taught him to listen. A hermit in a chapel said, "You wear silence like armor." A widow handing bread said, "When you meet pain, ask it its name." A nun sheltering him from a storm said, "Light is not speech, but speech can be a light." The 3 sentences braided themselves into a chord. Years later, the river remembered him, and so did the rock. The castle stood as before. The king sat as before. The wound bled as before. The Grail procession moved again, lance, dish, bright cup, and this time Percival stood. "My lord," he said, voice steady as a hand on a skittish horse, "what ails you, and whom does the Grail serve?" The question touched the room like rain. The king's shoulders loosened, color found his face. "You have asked," he breathed, and when he lifted his hand, the wound had ceased to weep. Outside, water began to run in the dry cuts of the fields, grass lifted, cows lowed as if remembering milk. Servants blinked from doorways like people waking from a winter too long. Percival did not pretend to understand every mystery, only this much, that knowledge had been waiting on kindness, that the Grail served the life of the land and the healing of the broken, that a question asked with care can be as holy as any right. He stayed to help open the long-shut gates, to shoulder sacks of seed, to listen while the king named old errors and new patience. When he rode away at last, the river sounded full again, intent on its work. If the tale has a point sharp enough to carry, it is this. When you meet suffering, your own or another's, do not hide behind manners or pride. Ask gently, "What hurts? How may I serve?" Many labyrinths open on that single thread.